Tuesday.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Sterling Heights City Council to order. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, please bless our elected officials. Grant them courage and wisdom to do what is right for all citizens. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Riska. Can we please have the roll call?
Mayor Taylor?
Here.
Mrs. Sarowski?
Here.
Mr. Kosky?
Present.
Mr. Radke?
Present.
Schmidt?
Present.
Mr. Yanis?
Here.
Yurko?
Present.
Thank you, Council. We need approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Kosky.
move to approve the agenda.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. First item on our agenda tonight is a report from our city manager, Mark Vanderpool. Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me begin by reminding everyone that in observance of the 4th of July, our offices will be closed on Tuesday, July 4th, and that includes all of our facilities. Of course, police and fire do not close. They're open 24/7, 365 days. There will be one day delay in our refuse pickup, so everything on Tuesday moves to Wednesday, and then Friday will move to Saturday. So please take note of that. Our next regular city council meeting will be on July 5th, so Wednesday, July 5th at 7 p.m. And also, please be reminded that consumer-grade fireworks can only be used in Sterling Heights on the state-approved days, which is June 29th through July 4th, from 11 a.m. to 11:45 p.m. So let me repeat that. June 29th, which is a Thursday, next Thursday, not this Thursday, the following Thursday, through July 4th, 11 a.m. to 11:45 p.m. Now, some cities in more rural areas allow fireworks all year round. We don't do that in Sterling Heights. And if you set off fireworks outside of this time frame, you run the risk of getting a citation and a fine up to $1,000. And our police department does enforce this. They'll be out this week, they'll be out this weekend, and they'll be doing their very best to enforce this. So you can imagine it's problematic to children, pets, those with PTSD, and so on. So we ask everyone to respect and honor the restriction in Sterling Heights, and many surrounding communities have the same restriction. And on a more pleasant note, our Visioning 2040 process is underway. You've heard us talk about this a number of times throughout the last year and a half. And so we're embarking on updating our Visioning 2030 plan, labeled our Visioning 2040 plan. So this is a visionary plan that looks over the next 10, 15 years and asks the question of the community, businesses, and all our stakeholders, what type of community would you like to see in 10, 15 years from now? And then what is the path forward to get there? So this is an overarching plan that we're working hard on, and we're going to be having a community forum on July 17th from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Sterling Heights Community Center just across the street. And we welcome the community to attend this event and provide us your thoughts and feedback. Of course, it's important for the mayor and the city council to hear these ideas as we continue to update some of our micro plans, if you will, our master plan, our strategic plan, with this vision in mind. So our Visioning 2030 plan really set us on the course to prosperity. That was done over a decade ago, and so now we're looking forward to the next plan. So if you're not able to attend the event on July 17th, there'll be a lot of material on this, and it'll be widely publicized. We'll also be surveying the community for feedback as well. So there'll be numerous times throughout the next 6 months that you'll be able to weigh in on our Visioning 2040 plan, providing us your thoughts and ideas. So we look forward to seeing you. Again, that is July 17th, 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. And Mayor, the last item on my report this evening is a brief presentation from our city engineer talking about the new stormwater management plan that's in place countywide, really region-wide. And we want to talk about the importance of this plan and how it's impacting the city of Sterling Heights and improving our sustainability initiatives citywide. So at this time, I'd like to introduce our city engineer, Brent Bayshaw.
Thank you, Mr. Vanderpool, Mayor Taylor, members of council, Mr. Krasubski, and good evening. And I'd also like to take a minute to welcome the young man from the Boy Scouts here that I was talking to before the meeting. Very interested in clean water, so it's a great meeting for you to show up at. I see you were ready to take notes as we were talking earlier. And I'm glad to see somebody interested in the topic, especially at your age, so thank you for being here.
And he has the advantage of having an expert tell him the answers instead of me, which I stumbled through earlier. So now you'll get the real answers, Declan, all right?
Yep, and I'm more than happy to meet with you after to discuss this further. Yes, the city's recently amended our stormwater management standards. I'm here tonight to present on this topic. So first of all, what are the city's stormwater management standards and what is their purpose? Simply stated, they are defined measures in place to protect lakes, rivers, and open drains by reducing the risk of flooding and reducing the amount of pollutants that enter our waterways. The stormwater standards are required and approved by the state through EGLE as part of the city's MS4 permit, which stands for Municipal Separate Storm Sewer Systems. And recently, the state has adopted regulations that require new design standards to be in place. It's a statewide mandate that started implementation by the counties of Macomb, Wayne, and Oakland, meeting to adopt uniform standards for Metro Detroit. And these standards are now being adopted by local municipalities, and the new city standards mirror the adopted county standards. So what changed? The changes required are to create sustainable stormwater practices to reduce runoff, improve water quality by implementing eco-friendly design standards that integrate green infrastructure through 3 specific measures: water quality control, water volume control, and water rate control. And I'll take a minute to describe these 3 concepts. So what is water quality control? It's the measure to reduce dirt, oils, pollutants, and other particles within the stormwater runoff. That is often referred to as first flush in the industry. So as pollutants build up on roadways or parking lots over time, the first flush rain events carries these pollutants into the drainage system. And these devices such as sediment bays, mechanical separators, tied into the storm sewer system or wet detention ponds can allow these contaminants to settle out and not enter the waterways. The second measure is water volume control. And this measure reduces the amount of rainwater that makes it into the waterway system by encouraging infiltration of stormwater into the ground. And this can be accomplished through bioswales, rain gardens, grass swales, or even grass pavers. On a smaller scale, the rain barrels that was such a successful program are a volume control measure, and the new ordinance through the planning department for permeable pavement is also a volume control measure. Theory on this is we want to keep waters out of the drains and get them to infiltrate into the ground. The third measure is rate control. So rate control measures are put in place to hold stormwater and release it at a controlled rate over time. So this reduces the flashiness of storms and has a positive impact to reduce flooding downstream on the waterways, and it also reduces channel erosion by reducing the velocity of the flow within the channel. Examples of rate control measures include underground detention systems and dry or wet detention basins. So many developments have already been designing to these standards as they were required to meet the county standards, and they already are in place. Shake Shack on M59 was designed to these new standards. It has a bioretention basin for water quality. Yatuma Oil is under construction currently at 19 and Mound, and the site was designed with the new stormwater standards to contain an underground retention system. bioretention basins, and a new mechanical water quality device. And another example is the Plato Caves on 15 and Van Dyke, which will be installing bioswales and water quality measures. Other examples in the city include Mound and Bridgewood Industrial Building, which you can see on the left, and the parking lot drains directly into this bioswale that treats the first flush rain event. The city constructed the Sterling Heights Nature Center a handful of years ago with a bioretention basin to encourage infiltration, and this was one of the first green infrastructure bioswales in the city. And then lastly, the Innovate Mountain project will be installing 9 bioswales in the median to adhere to the new stormwater standards. The plantings in the bioswale are designed to be hardy. They're native to the area for survivability, and they filter contaminants out of the stormwater runoff. Lastly, I'd like to discuss the implementation of these standards. Most engineering firms have already designed to these standards as the counties have adopted them and enforced them. However, it is important that the development teams know these standards and work through them early in the development process. So the city has implemented Thursday development meetings that are open style meetings for developers to come in to discuss at the very preliminary levels their projects, and these meetings will be utilized to discuss stormwater management as well. So in conclusion, these new standards meet the compliance requirements with the state. They bring uniformity to the current Macomb County standards, and they make a positive environmental impact on the waters of the state. This concludes my presentation, and thank you for your time.
And Mayor, I just wanted to thank Mr. Bayshaw for his good work helping to implement this plan. It's been many months in the making. He and his team have been very conscientious and diligent about making sure that we have all the procedures and policies in place, not to mention training for staff and certainly outreach to developers and so on. So I wanted to recognize his good work. And Mayor, that concludes my report this evening.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Bayshaw. Thank you, Mr. Vanderpool. The next item on our agenda tonight is an ordinance adoption. This is to adopt the final amendment to the appropriations ordinance for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. After rudely cutting you off last week, have you decided, you're not even going to bother? No, we typically don't have a presentation on the adoption. So is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment on this item? If not, council, we need a motion.
Mayor Taylor,
Mrs. Zarko.
resolve to adopt the final amendment to the appropriations ordinance for the 2022-23 fiscal year.
Support. Been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on any item on tonight's consent agenda? If not, council, we need a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Koski.
move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Been moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is a consideration item, and this is to consider approval of memorandums of understanding between the City of Sterling Heights and the Sterling Heights Executive Group and Michigan Association of Public Employees Supervisory Employees Union. We do have a presentation from our city manager, Mark Vanderpool. Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you, Mayor. You and the council may recall that during the budget workshop this past April, our HR and benefits manager, Kate Baldwin, presented on employee benefit enhancements that had the potential to improve employee attraction and retention, which is especially important in this incredibly tight and challenging labor market. One of the key proposals for the fiscal year and the budget that was approved by City Council is restoring the city's contribution to the eligible employees' 401A, which is equivalent to a 401K in the private sector, defined contribution retirement plan account levels to the level that existed prior to the Great Recession. Due to those severe financial constraints, the city reduced the percentage of salary annually contributed to the employees' 401A accounts. And although the city has been increasing its contribution levels, current labor market conditions dictate that we really accelerate the process for groups for the following reasons. The current contribution levels ranging between 4 and 5.5% to the 401A account levels leaves the city at a competitive disadvantage with many private and public sector employers. Again, it's a very tight labor market, and we need to be doing all that we can to remain competitive and have a competitive edge. And secondly, the 401A, like the 401Ks, are portable, meaning that employees who are vested can take their retirement accounts with them if they leave employment of the city. And again, the city needs to have a competitive contribution level to retain talented employees, especially since the number of employees covered by the 401A now far exceeds the number of employees who are grandfathered in under the traditional fixed pension program. And lastly, preparing employees for retirement builds goodwill and demonstrates that the city cares for its employees, which we deeply do. They are our greatest asset, and Sterling Heights is successful because of our wonderful employees. And so the MOU before you this evening includes the initiative to commence restoring the process or restoring the contribution levels to 7%. The increase, as I mentioned, has been incorporated into the budget and also will be included in the CBA that I'll be presenting on shortly, which is another agenda item. The city has also to date negotiated with the Sterling Heights Executive Group and Supervisory Employees Union to increase their contribution from 5 to 7%. And so that is specifically the two MOUs that you'll be voting on now. And with all this in mind, I respectfully request that the mayor and city council approve these two memorandums, which again, we hope to be through all of the applicable agreements in the next year and have this fully implemented with all the 8 bargaining groups. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vanderpool. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this item? If not, council, we need a motion.
Mayor Taylor,
Mrs. Schmidt.
can I do these together, or do I need to do them separately?
Separately.
Separately, okay. Approve the memorandum of understanding between the City of Sterling Heights and the Sterling Heights Executive Group, and authorize the mayor and city manager to sign it on behalf of the city.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? No, Mrs. Zarko.
The only thing I would say is I would hope that we can escalate the meetings with the other groups so that, you know, they can be on par with the ones that are changing tonight. So I hope we can expedite those. Yeah, nothing further.
Council, anyone else? With no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Ms. Schmidt, would you like to do the second?
Sure. Approve the memorandum of understanding between the City of Sterling Heights and the Michigan Association of Public Employees Supervisory Employees Union, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign it on behalf of the city.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
No.
With no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next item on our agenda is another consideration item, and this is to consider approval of a collective bargaining agreement and a memorandum of understanding between the City of Sterling Heights and the Michigan Association of Police Clerical Employees Association for the period of July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2026. Again, we have a presentation from our city manager, Mark Vanderpool. Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief with this because I've presented on a number of these new collective bargaining agreements over the last year, and this is very similar to all of those. But for those who haven't heard it, I'll touch on some of the highlights. Mayor, as you mentioned, this is a new CBA between the police clerical employees, which expires at the end of this month, June 30th. So anticipation of the expiration date, the applicable parties, the city, and the union board have been hard at work negotiating a new agreement. And so some of the highlights, the term is for 3 years, again, consistent with our other agreements. The wage increases are 2% first year, 2.5% the second, and 3% the third year, which is very reasonable and competitive with what we're seeing going on in the marketplace. The base medical and hospitalization plan remains the Simply Blue high deductible plan, which I think you're all accustomed with on council, and maybe some of you in the audience, you're very familiar now with high deductible healthcare plans. That's what our employees have, and they will be paying 10% premium share, which again has been consistent with our other groups. In addition, this same plan will be taken into retirement for those who are eligible. There's not many left in the organization that are, but for those that are, they will take that same high deductible plan into retirement and also continue to pay 10% premium share in retirement. And as we're trying to do citywide, we're increasing our educational assistance program so that it's a little more meaningful and encouraging employees to pursue degrees and higher education, and the organization benefits from that, and certainly the community benefits from it. And also there are some vacation leave enhancements, and that includes members with in excess of 30 accrued vacation days will have the option of being bought out up to 10 vacation days, which is an increase from 7. And this encourages employees to perhaps take less vacation time if they can, although work-life balance is very important, and we try to encourage that as much as we can. And as I mentioned with the last agenda item, this group will have a 7% contribution to their 401A account, so that's important. In addition, members, we have gotten out of the retiree health care business, and members hired between March 1st, 2008 and June 30th, 2012 have a significant premium share for retiree health care. In fact, they have to pay 50% of their health care. Those hired after that date do not get retiree health care. So the city contributes $2,000 a year to a health care retiree medical account, if you will, and we're simply increasing that amount or applying that amount to everyone in the group, so $2,000 for everyone. We saved millions of dollars as an organization getting out of the retiree healthcare business, so this certainly is a reasonable benefit. Also, many of you have heard that we're implementing a flexible schedule. Many employers now provide remote working. The city did that during COVID. It worked pretty well. However, it was not a benefit we could apply across the board. It created some inequities, created some ill will. In other words, not everyone can work remotely from home. So you could imagine some of the concerns that created. So in today's tight labor market, we had to be more creative and come up with more flexible schedules. And one idea we came up with was the alternating Friday off without reducing hours to the general public. So basically what we do is squeeze the 2-week work schedule into 9 days instead of 10 days. And then employees are divided into 2 groups, and they get alternating Fridays off. Again, there's no decrease in services to the community. Employees start earlier in the day, they get a reduced lunch hour, and in return, they get 26 alternating Fridays off a year, which creates flexibility, really good for retention and recruitment. It's win-win. It's far more equitable than remote working was for us. So this group will get that same schedule, and we'll be implementing that schedule to all the applicable groups that are eligible for it. And all the other monetary benefits in the collective bargaining agreement stay the same as the current agreement that's expiring. And I did want to recognize, excuse me, once again, the good work of the union leadership team. These collective bargaining agreements are never easy. They take a long time, a lot of give and take, finding common ground. And I really appreciate their professionalism and also the good work from our assistant city manager, Jeff Bukhorsky, and our HR manager, Kate Baldwin, for their good work, working collaboratively with the union leadership team. And so, Mayor, with all that in mind, I respectfully request that the mayor and city council approve the CBA before you this evening, and also the applicable MOUs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Vanderpool. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this? If not, council, we need a motion.
Mayor Taylor,
Mrs. Sarowski.
resolved to approve the collective bargaining agreement and memorandum of understanding between the City of Sterling Heights and Michigan Association of Police, MAP, Police Clerical Employees Association for the period of July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2026, and authorize the mayor and city mayor and city clerk to sign all documents required in conjunction with this approval.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
No, it has been very well explained to us by city manager, so I think I'm completely understanding. I'm good.
Okay, council, anyone else? No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda tonight is to consider a nomination to the City of Sterling Heights Planning Commission. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on this item? If not, council, this has been postponed, and I appreciate your patience. I have spoken with a candidate who has an application on file and specifically wants to serve on our planning commission, resident name Nicole McGill. I spoke with Ms. McGill, and I'm going to be meeting with her in the next couple of days. She has a degree in urban planning. She currently works for the Utica Community School District. She's been a resident of the city of Sterling Heights for over 10 years. With a master's degree in urban planning and a concentration in regional growth management and environmental planning, and she's looking to put that degree to good use. So she's already had positions in the past, full-time employment, using that. Now, as an employee of the Utica Community School, she said she'd like to use her master's degree, which she's not necessarily using working for the school district, a degree in planning. I've had the opportunity to talk to her about her goals for the city and ours, and I think she'd be a very good fit. So I'd appreciate any member that would be willing to nominate Nicole McGill.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Radke.
resolved on the advice of the mayor to nominate Nicole McGill for consideration as an appointee to the Planning Commission at July 5th, 2023 regular city council meeting.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Thank you, council. With no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next on our agenda tonight is to consider appointments to the City of Sterling Heights Elected Officials Compensation Commission. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this item? If not, council, I have 3 appointments I'd like to make, but 2 of them I cannot make tonight. One appointment I can make tonight, just because the application, we need 14 days for the applications to be, is it 12? We need 12 days. Okay, even better, but still not going to work for tonight. So what I would like to do is I'd like to make a recommendation for the appointment to the open seat to a partial term ending June 30th, well, actually, here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to appoint to the not open seat, but to a term ending June 30th, 2030. I'd like to appoint Pam Sarau. And would somebody make that appointment?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Radke.
resolved on the advice of the mayor to appoint Pam Sarau to the Elected Officials Compensation Commission to a term ending June 30th, 2030, which the appointee meeting the qualifications set forth in Charter subsection 4.03 and taking the oath of office within 2 weeks.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Mr. Radke.
I know Pam from the Planning Commission. I think she'll be an excellent fit on the Elected Officials Compensation Commission.
All right, thank you, Mr. Radke. Anyone else? With no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. So we do have 3 members of that board. We need 1 more to make a quorum. I will get hopefully 2 appointments made at the next council meeting, but that means we do have 4 positions that need to be postponed until the July 5th city council meeting. So I would entertain a motion to postpone the other 4 openings on the Elected Officials Compensation Commission to the July 5th, 2023 city council meeting.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. And that concludes that portion of our agenda tonight. So we will move on to communications from citizens. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on any item not on tonight's agenda? Ms. Fessler?
can see that?
Not yet, but they'll pull it up.
Okay.
Push it up a little bit.
Yep, push it up. There you go.
little higher.
A little bit more.
There you go.
That's
See
good.
it?
Yeah, you can see on, you can,
Okay, that's fine.
yeah, that'll work.
Okay. I watched the council meeting last time, and I watched it on Friday. Highly disappointing with the people who voted against my new home. I hope that to be similar to what you're gonna build here at the Lakeside Development. I've spoken to Mr. Bonner. I've spoken to the development of that particular location, and he's very interested in buying property and building something similar to that inside the Lakeside Development. I've been in Sterling Heights since September of 1973. That will be 50 years. I've lived in 2 different residences, homes. I lived at Lakeside Terraces, and in March of 20, I lived at the Meadow Lodge for brain bleed. I'm 80 years old, and I was told by my doctor today that I may live for at least 5 more years, at which point I want to live in a place like that. Mayor Taylor, where's the first time you met me?
Oh, man, well, that is a good question. It was at some facility like that, wasn't it?
Lakeside Mall.
It was Lakeside Mall.
Radke, where did I meet you for the first time?
At Lakeside Mall.
The food court, right?
Yes, food court, by the merry-go-round. I love Lakeside Mall. I moved my home to this area at 19 and Shaner after living at Ryan and DeQuinder. I lived at Lakeside Terraces, and I've lived close to Lakeside ever since. I want to know if you're going to keep postponing my new home. Why? Mr. Yanis, my property tax have been paying you for years. And to delay my home because you think property taxes are going to go up, you're wrong. These 2 gentlemen are smart enough to know that it will not increase. And our property tax are one of the lowest in the area, and I know that for a fact because I do taxes for a living for 40 years. Warren, Madison Heights, Rochester, Canton Township, I've done taxes for people all over the place. And if your taxes go up even a little bit, mine will, and I don't mind a bit. Because I want this development done before I die. And every time you delay it, you're putting a nail in my coffin. You have no business saying a circle. You have no business making it bigger. Why? I'm glad you changed your vote, but I was furious that this thing was going to go down. There's no reason for that. This development is going to increase my property. It's going to increase all of your property. The longer you delay it, the worse it's going to be. Prices are going to go up. People are going to move out. We're all getting older. We need a senior facility. This senior facility has to have independent living, assisted living, and memory care. A week and a half ago, I spoke to Jane Yanez, who runs the memory care for Macomb County. She and I discussed it at length that memory care is very, very vital at a senior residence because we're all going to have it. By the time we're 80 or 90, I'm 80 now and I'm losing it. By the time I'm 90, I may not have a full brain in my head. So we need to have those 3 things. We need to get builders who are willing to do it. And I don't want them stifled by a certain attorney, not you, another one who comes in here and has to represent every builder around here. I'm furious about that. I love this city. I would never live anywhere else. And I don't want to die anywhere else. I want to live in a senior residence that's done, that's new, that treats me like a human being. And that place does. But I don't want to live in Madison Heights. I want to live right here. I love this city. And Mayor Taylor, I am shocked at how good you are.
Thank you.
I
appreciate
told you
that.
to come to that interview because I didn't expect you to be the mayor you are.
Well, thank you.
Your opinions on ethnicity and diversity are admirable.
Well, thank you, Ms. Fisher. I do appreciate it. Unfortunately, your time's run out, or else I'd
done.
let you go on and on, but in fairness,
I'm
I
done.
have to cut you off there. Thank you, though. Anyone else?
One other thing, there was a lady, I talked at Walton Wood, she said she was going to be here, and Walton Wood is completely unaware of what's going on, and they should know.
Understood.
Anybody in this area should be informed about what's going on.
Okay, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Would you like to speak, sir? Come on up.
You have to pan the camera here as well. Put it on the TV.
He'll pick it up. Move it over a little. If you can see, it's not exactly centered.
Oh.
If you want it centered a little bit better. Yep, there you go.
Sure. Do I got to push a button? Okay,
No,
I'm
just
good.
go ahead. You've got 4 minutes, okay? So you're going to have a green light for 3 minutes, a yellow light for 1 minute, and a red light means you're done.
I'll try.
You got to either start complimenting me.
All right, good evening, everybody. It's awesome to be here. My name is Pastor Emmanuel. I'm Emmanuel Kokutu. I'm the pastor of Christ Embassy, Michigan, in Livonia. You're wondering why I'm here today, even though I'm not a city resident. Well, I'm here on behalf of our congregation and most of our congregation members who happen to also live in the city as well. I'm here because we're on a citywide campaign, or rather a statewide campaign, to reach out to city council members like you all, knowing that you all do a great job and you guys, the decisions you make in your sittings affects our congregants. And we encourage them to also be part of the city meetings and hear what's happening, what decisions have been made on their behalf. And so no better way than to be here and let them know I was in your city, I saw your mayor, I saw your city council members, I heard all that they shared, and guess what? They're doing good on your behalf. So we're here, and we, like I said, we're in Christ Embassy, Michigan, and our campaign is Reach Outward. In here in this box, I have something special for the mayor of the city. We know that they do a lot, decision-making, and so we just want to pray for you and pray with every one of you as well that the wisdom of God guides you as you lead the city in righteousness, truth, and justice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I do appreciate it. You can leave that with our city clerk, and I will get it after the meeting, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have with us State Senator Chang, who'd like to address the city council and the residents of the city of Sterling Heights.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here. Thanks for all the great work that you all are doing as a city council. I was sometime last year, while I was still campaigning, wanted to just come back and, say hello. Again, my name is Stephanie Chang. I'm state senator for Senate District 3, which does include one precinct in Sterling Heights. And we've been working really, really hard up in Lansing, passing just an enormous amount of bills in our first 6 months on everything from, gun violence prevention to environmental issues to restoring basic freedoms to economic issues. And it would take hours, I think, to go through all of it, but we've been very, very busy. I'm sure you've probably seen a lot in the news. Did want to highlight for anyone watching, one big piece that we did pass just recently that folks should be aware of as they're driving is that our hands-free law, which we just recently passed a couple weeks ago, does come into effect on June 30th. So do want to make sure that folks are aware of that, because I know it's a big change. So basically that law says that it is illegal to drive using your cell phone. So previously it was just illegal to text while driving. Now it's anything, social media, taking pictures, whatever it is on your cell phone. Don't do that while you're driving. It will become illegal starting on June 30th. So want to make sure folks are aware of that. Also, right now, kind of the biggest thing is, since we're in our last 2 weeks before our summer recess as the legislature is wrapping up our budget. So stay tuned for news about that. There's a lot of conversations happening, and we look forward to getting the budget signed before July 1. And then one thing I should just let folks know is that my office, we do coffee hours throughout the year. We tend to do at least twice a month. And so folks can find our coffee hours on our website, which is just senatorstephaniechang.com. My team and I are working really, really hard on many, many things throughout the district, but just really wanted to come and say hello and also just remind folks that I'm here to be a resource, here to be helpful however I can. So appreciate your leadership and all the great work you're doing. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Senator Chang. We appreciate you being here and keeping in touch with us and keeping what's going on in Sterling Heights front and center to you, and I know our residents certainly appreciate that. So thank you. Anyone else under communications from citizens? If not, I'll close that portion, and we will go on to reports from city administration. Anything tonight, Mr. Vanderpool?
Mayor, just quickly, since Senator Chang is here, and it's great to see her, that we heard some really good news today out of the state legislature, and that is the fact that the transformational brownfield amendment passed the House, and it'll be before the Senate on Thursday. So we're hoping Senator Chang votes yes for that, because it is vitally important to the lakeside redevelopment.
And if you don't, she's going to find you, and she's going to have words.
So the city has been following this legislation and actually helped draft the legislation because it is so vitally important to our community. So we're looking forward to this. It will be a giant leap forward for the lakeside redevelopment project. So I just wanted to highlight that. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vanderpool. Mr. Koszybski?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Nothing tonight. All right, council, I'll open it up to any reports or new business.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Yanez.
thank you very much. I really appreciate Mr. Bradshaw, his presentation tonight. You know, council was kind enough to pass my budget amendment for $25,000 to look at. Well, I think we boiled it down to just lawn care, but it's really more than that. And I think Mr. Bradshaw really highlighted the need for stormwater management. And if you noticed, and some of those pictures that he posted, that these are relatively maintenance-free. They're certainly mowing-free areas, and we have some right in our own parking lot, as a matter of fact. And as we move forward, we're going to see a lot more of these swales and bioswales and so forth using native grasses. But I think we also really need to sort of retrofit some of the properties that we already have and really consciously think about what we're doing as we put in more pathways or so forth, make them as low maintenance as possible. You know, one of the things that we've seen over the last, I don't know, decade, I guess, going back to the 2014 flood is right now we're in a drought. And these are the weather patterns that we're seeing now. We're going to see droughts, the ground gets hard, and then we're going to see a 100-year or 500-year rain event. And a lot of the water won't be absorbed by the soil because the soil is hard from the drought. It's not like we're used to, where, you know, it rains, we have a couple days of rain, and the sun comes out and so forth. We're now having extreme weather events, and we're in the middle of one right now. So I think this is something that I'm glad the presentation was there tonight. I'm hoping that we can have someone come in and take a look at our city overall and maybe take a step back and look at some of the land that we own, some of the land that we maintain, and maybe make changes so there's less maintenance, less cost, less pollution, and it's better for the environment as a whole. The other thing I want to bring up is one of my concerns, and I'm not sure if it's a concern that I'm just making up in my head or if it's a real concern, so I'm hoping the city can help me out with this. But, you know, I've talked to several people who bought homes here. They loved moving into Sterling Heights, but, you know, they were sort of taken aback when the pop-up tax came. And the amount of money that they're spending on their the property tax bill, which of course is, you know, rolled into their monthly mortgage payment, is pretty staggering. And, you know, to think that some people are paying $300, $400, maybe even $500 a month in property tax living here in Sterling Heights is pretty mind-boggling. And one of the things I'm really concerned about, and I don't know if the city can aggregate some data for us or not, especially going into this July 17th visioning plan, but how many homes, I'd like to know how many homes that we have that are, and how long people have owned those homes. So what I'm saying is people who've lived here for 10 years, lived in their home for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, and we got this pop-up tax coming, because one of my real concerns is that we have an older aging population that is eventually going to leave their homes, and the new buyers are going to get hit with the pop-up tax. And if we're in a period of high interest rates or higher interest rates, there will be a lag in sales. And I'm really concerned that either individuals or corporations, someone like a Redfin will come in, pay cash for houses, and now we have a bunch of rental properties, as opposed to having a city that's attractive for first-time homeowners or people who are maybe retired on a fixed income and downscaling. So through the chair to Mr. Vanderpool, is this some sort of information? I mean, I guess it's, go on BSNA and make a spreadsheet, but I'm curious on the city's thoughts of what the city is going to look like 10, 15, 20 years down the road as more people start leaving their homes, pop-up tax starts hitting, and it's not that it's not that the homes are more valuable, but it's just that the property taxes are higher, and it's going to create a higher monthly payment. Your thoughts?
Mr. Vanderpool?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Yanez, I appreciate your thoughts. I think they're very valid, and I think the data you requested is something that we can certainly look at, and I think we can get you the information, you and the council, the information you're requesting in the format you're suggesting. And I think it is a good part of the Visioning 2040 process. And you're right, it is a concern. A couple of points, though, to maybe allay some of your concern. First, the good news is in Sterling Heights, our single-family home ownership, owner-occupied homes is quite high, over 70%, which is very, very strong. The percent that are rental properties is a very small, when you look at just single-family homes and compared to our overall housing population, is less than 5%, which is a very good number. I mean, you definitely would want to be under 5%. And that's been the case for a while now. So we're not seeing any major blips or concerning trends in our single-family owner-occupied homes turning over, being flipped to major rental companies. Now, we do hear, and some of you have received these complaints from residents who complain that maybe next door an individual is renting their property to Verbo or Airbnb or even independent rentals. That's been going on for decades. We have about 2,000 of those properties in the city where people are independent owners, or they live elsewhere and they rent their homes out to either family members or friends or other individuals. So that will continue. But what your point is, we want to avoid any concerning trends there and do all that we can to make sure that doesn't get out of control. So I'll be happy to work with our budget and finance director, make sure we get that information, get it distributed to you, and then maybe also look at some pertinent information from SEMCOG, and I think that'll be meaningful to you, but I appreciate the concern.
Well, I appreciate your response. 70% homeowner, that's exactly what I'm getting at. I have this concern that there is going to be this cohort of sellers. It's not like some people sell, some people buy, it kind of ebbs and flows. Because we are an older community and an older county, that there may be a significant chunk over a short period of time, especially if conditions are right, like higher interest rates, where there's a lot of homes on the market that are available and people aren't buying, and that's the time for companies to come swoop in and buy these properties and make them rentals. I know we talked about affordable housing, but we also have to be concerned about housing that's affordable, and part of that is the tax bill that people are paying. If you do something in your house, put on a new roof, new siding, now the value of your house goes up, your taxes go up. You know, a future council may have to take a look at what are we going to do in regards to Headley to help make housing more affordable for either first-time home buyers or people who are downgrading or whatever. I think that's, if we take a look at the data and we show that there's a potential of people who are now in their 60s and 70s, 10, 15, 20 years from now, selling their homes, I think that's something that a future council may have to deal with, or maybe not, I don't know, but I would certainly like to sort of get a visionary picture of what the housing market is going to look like in 2040, I guess. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Yanis. Anyone else?
Mayor Taylor?
Mrs. Zarko. And I'd like to know what the housing market's going to look like in 1 month. 2040 is kind of
I know,
ambitious.
he's got the weight of his shoulders, you know, Sterling Heights on his taxes.
I'm not in the market, but I'm concerned about that pop-up tax too. Go ahead, Ms. Zarko.
Okay. Most of you know that for the last month or so, I've had the opportunity to represent the Michigan Municipal League in Washington DC, and I did a road trip through the UP, and it was at the Mackinac Policy Conference. And I wanted to bring back some of the things that I learned there, knowing that in the future we might be able to use some of these resources and also these ideas. One of them was a solar project in Lance, Michigan, up in the UP, that's privately owned nonprofit. And what they have there, it's a very small community, they have like 360 solar panels that are individually owned by a church, a nonprofit. You can buy one. And then what happens, they call it a solar farm, and when they capture the electricity or the savings, it's divided among the owners of this particular farm. So I thought it can be put on a landfill, it could be put on brownfield, so there's not a whole lot of restrictions as to where it could be, you know, it could farm for us, but I think it would be a great idea. In a town that small, their 360 panels were sold out. First 2 panels were actually sold to a church. They wrote it up so that if you sell your house, that you could either sell the panel with the house or donate it to a nonprofit. So I thought it was an interesting concept. It also is less expensive than if you were going to do the solar panels on your home. It would be a lot more expensive, but I thought we could research this and find out where this project would work. And we've done a good job with Rain Barrel, so let's see if we can do something with solar energy and have it, you know, privately owned. I mean, it's a public power in a nonprofit. Okay, I actually saw the beginning or end of the Iron Bale Trail, depending on which direction you're going in. So, and that was fun to look at, knowing that it's a long way. It's a long way. But that we're going to be a part of it someday. I think that was it, is that someday it's going to come right through Macomb County. We can talk about short-term rentals, and we've talked about this before, and we think of it, or it's not, rent or housing. Short-term rental is a big deal, and Mr. Yanis just brought that up, because these companies that buy it up, a lot of times that's exactly what these are, is they are short-term rentals. And I know that it's a hot-button topic right now in the legislature. Senator Chang could probably tell us that, and we want local control. In other words, we want to make the ordinances or whatever that would control our housing market, is what it amounts to, is how many can you have, because 50 short-term rentals in Sterling Heights are different than 50 short-term rentals in Sheboygan or Lance, okay? The other thing in Lance is they're looking for a developer who is willing to build 30 senior housing units. They already have the property, they have someplace, you know, it's like they have the approval, they'll be extending the facility that they already have. By going and building these 30 units, it will open up 30 houses in their community, because they can recruit people to work there, but they have no place to live. So it was an issue. So if you know of a developer out there that wants to take a chance in Lance to put in 30 senior units, they're looking for that. The other thing is, the Army Corps of Engineers is going to be working on a project at the Sioux Locks. And what they do when they come in is they actually build a small community, housing, retail, probably some medical facilities. And so that while this project is going on, the people that are working there can actually live there. But there's two problems. There is one, if it's going to be south of Sault Ste. Marie, if it was, closer, and it didn't have all of the amenities that the city already have, maybe some of those residents would go into the city and support them. The really bad part is, when the project's over, they level it. It's gone. And this isn't the only project that's going on like this. There's another one in Maryland. And I know that locally we can't do anything, but there's got to be a way that we can start bringing attention to the housing crisis that we have, and yet building it and then tearing it down. I mean, it just seems like it's a waste of taxpayers' dollars, which would help us when it comes to the housing shortage. So I think that's pretty much where I'm there. I do know that the mayor of Sault Ste. Marie, the first thing he said to me is, you can't take Ed Miller back. So our assistant fire chief is rocking it up there. He is already doing so many things up in the UP. He loves his job, and it's grateful that he's there. So it was nice visiting with him. And lastly, through the chair, two things. We've been talking about Lakeside tonight, and we keep no tax increases. If it's through the chair, whoever wants to answer, so it's Mr. Vanderpool or Mr. Koszewski. If this is a CIA, and I think that I asked Mrs. Varney this, a CIA will not have a line item on your tax bill. Okay, she agreed with me. Now, if it was a DDA, do DDAs have line items, whether it be now or in the future? Could it be a line item on your tax bill? Is that the difference between the two?
Mr. Vanderpool?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilwoman Zarko, that is a good question. So DDAs can levy millage, unlike CIAs, and when they do levy millages, it would have to go on the tax bill. There would be a line item specifically indicating that millage amount. So that is the primary. There's other differences, but CIAs cannot levy millage rates, and DDAs can. But yes, it would be on the tax bill.
And that would include businesses as well. So it wouldn't just be homeowners. The businesses throughout the city would get the hit too.
Only in the district. Yeah.
Is that correct? Through the chair to somebody.
Mr. Vanderpool?
That would be correct. It would be properties in that particular district, which, could be, well, we know the number for the CIA district, but, if it's a larger district under the DDA, it would be many more properties.
Okay. But it does include the businesses as well in the district. Okay. And lastly, how's the striping coming on Lakeside Circle?
I wasn't there Sunday.
And it's not there today. I knew the question would come up tonight. The contractor's ready to go. The general manager of Lakeside has approval as of yesterday to proceed with the contract. So in the next couple of weeks, the striping should be completed. So we were prepared to begin the striping on our own and bill the management company, but that does not appear to be necessary. But we do expect it to be completed in the next 2 weeks.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further.
All right, thank you, Ms. Zarko. Anybody else? Mr. Radke?
Briefly, Mr. Mayor. Last year, we were talking about some of these problem homes that OBA deals with on a strike list because they're problems for years. We talked about finally, I've like a better term, writing a ticket, because OBA is an alternate adjudication system for property. But for example, there's a house on Dryden in my father's neighborhood that has not cut the grass in 10 years. And we've been cutting the grass every 2 weeks for the last 10 years, the city has. And I'm hoping that, the city would put together a list of the top 10 business properties that are not following our ordinances and the top 10 residential properties that are not following our ordinances and serving them a ticket. Because, for example, that Dryden property, we've been maintaining it for 10 years. And at this point, they don't care. So maybe a ticket from code enforcement might at least make them come to court and explain to us why they don't care. And when I'm driving around the city, it seems to me that when I'm calling Mr. Vanderpool or Mr. Castor, our community development director, I'm calling on the same properties over and over and over again. So I'm hopeful that the city will put together a list and really start to enforce our ordinances so that these offenders, because I'll be honest, this property on Dryden that I know that all my neighbors in the neighborhood know about, nothing has changed them. It just goes under their tax bill and they pay the third-year taxes every year and just rolls over. And the city has literally cut the grass every 2 weeks for the last 10 years. And it does the snow the same way. All the snow gets shoveled by the city. And it seems to me that code enforcement in the OBA process is there to fix things, but if someone doesn't want it to get fixed, we need to take an alternate route. So I would just urge administration to come up with a plan and to target those properties that are problems and deal with them. Because I find it frustrating to continue to report the house on Dryden, other properties throughout the city. I'm sure the council can put our heads together and come up with a list that are just shirking our ordinances and leading to blight in our city. We're not going to meet before the 4th of July, so for everyone at home, I wish you a happy 4th of July. I hope you celebrate safely. Be very careful with fireworks. Go to a free show. There's no reason to light off fireworks in the neighborhood. That's my opinion. With that, that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Radke. Anyone else? Mr. Sarowski.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. Just briefly, because I was going to wish everyone the same 4th of July thing, but Mr. Radke got that for me. So I was up north in the UP 2 weeks ago now, and we saw something so darn unique, I had to mention it. And I'm kind of throwing it out there, but I'm also going to want Mr. Vanderpool to know about this. It was an elementary, I was in Ishpeming, and it was seeing my girlfriend off and her daughter. She's going to move off to Wisconsin. I'm going to miss her tremendously, although I haven't seen her much because she lives in the UP, but different story there. But she lives up the street from an elementary school that they have reimagined into senior apartments.
Oh, wow.
And it was a really great idea, and because it's a one-story building, and so there's not stairs, and main cafeteria, so there's food. So that was a great use of that building, and so just kind of putting it out there, throwing it against the wall, see what sticks. But it was wonderfully done. Obviously, at that time, when the elementary school was built, a lot more young children, and the city has aged. Children, there's not as many young kids, but it was a great use of that property. And so just if we could ever find a use for that type of a use, I think that was something that was really interesting and very well thought out, because it's right in the middle of the city. We don't have quite downtown like that city does. Still working on that, Utica. But different story there. They know I'm coming for them. But anyway, and then again, to all the residents, please, yes, be safe. 4th of July, as a nurse, every injury can be very serious with those fireworks. And we allow commercial grade fireworks, and that's something that can really throw monkey wrench and something, they're very dangerous. So please be careful. It is still pretty dry out there. So, again, fire is an issue. So, again, just be careful, have fun. I love fireworks. I have never missed a firework watching them ever in my life. I am going to find some fireworks to see, but I always go and I don't light them myself because I'm scared of fire. So be careful, have a good time. Happy 4th of July, and we'll see you on July 5th here on our meeting on Wednesday. We won't be here on the 4th, we'll be here on the 5th. So again, thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sarowski. Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate it, especially to State Senator Chang. Thank you again for being here. Declan, thank you for being here, for your questions. I hope you got some good information from Mr. Bayshaw earlier tonight. And if you want, we can probably share those slides with you. Just send me an email and we can get you those slides. And Thank you also for being here, Pastor, and for what you dropped off. We appreciate it. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.